Morning, everybody. iLive listeners. This is Mike Manhurt's Coach Mike. I'm here with Alex Kumar. He's been in the industry for a long time, in forms of manager, instructor, personal trainer, and now he's a enthusiast yoga instructor. And Alex, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How are you? Great to connect.
Thank you for joining the show. Really appreciate you. I want to dive into, because out of all the people I know, you've been in the industry probably as long, or if not longer than myself. How did it all start? And where did the enthusiasm and the passion come from?
That's a good point. Growing up in India, I used to after after high school. Actually, it goes further back. I think grade seven.
Uh-huh.
Early morning, me and my friends we used to go out for a run, and then one day we'd gone on for this run, and then we got into a fight,
Oh God.
and we got badly beaten up. so, so that's when we decided, hey man, we got to get into fitness.
Okay.
So from then we started working out, and then we started being those guys that could beat people up in the school.
Oh man.
So anyway, so that was our group of guys.
How old were you guys?
Um, I was grade seven, grade eight.
Okay. What'd you guys do at that
Anyways,
time to get stronger?
all was one of my guys, one of my friends. He had a bench press and just a makeshift bench press, and then some weights we bought,
Okay.
and we just went in and just did bench press only. That's all we knew. Every day, bench press.
Yeah.
Our legs were like skinny,
Yeah.
but then we just doing bench press. Skinny legs, puffed up chest, but that's all we did.
Oh man, how long did this go on for?
Well, this went on for like grade 10, grade 12. We were pretty consistent every day, every day. Bad nutrition, just ate whatever,
What?
right?
Yeah. What did you guys eat? Like at that time in India? I guess like what was the nutritional value? What was the mindset towards nutrition at that time?
Mom's food, so whatever she cooked.
Oh man.
So in terms of protein powder, protein shake, it was not even there. The market was not there. Nobody was buying all that stuff. So we just ate a lot more, thinking that hey, that's what we need to do to build muscle. So whatever she made, we're like, okay, we're just gonna eat twice as much.
Right. So you guys consumed a ton of calories, I'm sure.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So you said you were making stuff for weights. I guess there was no weight facility. There was no gym or anything at that time that you guys could in India.
No, no. So the culture, I mean, even till today, yeah, there are some smaller gyms that are out there, but more so, the kind of gym industry that we have here, it's not there. So it's too many people are too busy living their lives and earning their living.
Yeah.
And I tell my siblings every day that, hey man, work out. But then whenever I talk to them, they're eating candy as I'm talking to them, right? So there's no real culture of fitness. Yeah, there are some people who are into it, but not as much as here.
And that was at that time. Do you think things have changed over time with uh, the fitness conscious in India right now?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It has changed quite a bit. You'd see a lot more gyms opening up, but again, the last time I was there last year, I went to the gyms over there, but then gyms are like empty, so hardly anybody in there. And even still, the actual real revolution is not there.
Mhm. So
Everyone's just skinny. One of my boss one day told me here, he's like, "Hey man, I saw a video of India, and you guys are so fitness conscious. Everyone's just riding a bicycle."
oh yeah, yeah.
And I told him, "Well, it's not fitness conscious because that's all they can afford.
Oh man.
They're riding a bicycle to work.
They were budget conscious.
Budget conscious
Yeah.
with their whole family on the bicycle."
Oh man. So you were doing these exercises, you're working one muscle only. When did the
Yeah,
transition come that when did you realize you had to work the whole body?
it didn't. The fitness journey started here, right?
Okay.
So after grade 12, university, so and then we just we didn't work out as much as we did.
Yeah.
because we just got separated. Everyone just went out to college, and
You went to the army.
and when I yes, I did join the army after university. So
Yeah.
right after I joined the army, and that's where I realized that there's no weights in the army. It's just running. So you just
So
run.
they don't do calisthenics, anything like that in the Indian Army at that time?
Push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, but more than anything, run.
Run. Okay, so endurance was the main thing out there.
And that's it. Yeah, 5 kilometers a day, 18 kilometers once a week, full pack, half pack, just run. Take your buddy on you and then run with him.
So at least you had some resistance with running with someone on you. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was no strength training at all, like from weights or bands or any other resistance other than carrying someone.
That's it. Yeah, so we would
Uh,
carry someone, we would carry our bicycles
yeah.
as a form of punishment, packs. So our packs would be, we could fill up with sand,
Yeah.
and our backpack will fill up with sand. But that's about it. Everything that was, it was just makeshift.
What was their nutrition like? What was their approach to nutrition?
Really poor. Nutrition was really poor. I really remember being hungry all the time.
Well, if you're running that much, for sure.
I was hungry all the time, and I was there for a year and a half actively, and
Okay.
then the last 6 months in the hospital. So
Hospital, what
that
happened?
was what I got. I don't know what happened, but after about a year and a half of training, the last 6 months of the training, I got sick. And I didn't realize that I was sick, but I started feeling a lot more weak, and I couldn't run farther. I would get tired a lot often. And then one night, I just passed out.
Mhm.
And then next day, I went to the doctor, the army doctor, and they did a blood test, and they saw that my hemoglobin was 4.2.
Oh man.
So the regular hemoglobin is about 12.
Right.
Mine was 4.2. So somehow I had lost a lot of blood internally. And then a lot of testing began. I had to be given blood, just by my fellow colleagues,
Hmm.
fellow batchmates that came in. They gave me blood, and just so I can bring my blood levels up.
Yeah.
But as a result of all that blood transfusion, my spleen got bigger. The spleen is an organ
Jeez.
in your body. So what happens is it's a waste bag of your body. So all the dead blood cells, they just kind of store, and then they just dispense from there.
Hmm.
But my spleen got bigger, and spleen is an organ where if I am in a combat and if I get hit in my
Hmm.
spleen,
Right.
it would burst and I would just simply die because I would bleed out.
Mm.
So that was a big medical no-no for army. So you couldn't be training and being actively serving in the army with a big spleen.
Right.
So yeah, that was my exit from the army. I still get pension from the army because hey, it wasn't my fault. It was a part of the training, so I
How long
still
were
get
you in the
paid.
hospital? How long were you in the hospital for? How was that recovery? How'd that go?
Well, it was off and on. So hospital, a lot of testing, trying to figure out what was the reason of that blood loss internally,
Hmm.
and just on the hospital, and then a different category where I can't be actively training, but just simply resting in my cabin.
Right.
So mentally, it was a tough time, right? Knowing that your batchmates are out there training, and you're like waiting. Um, anyway, so I knew that I would get back into it. Just wanted to get back in the level A that so A, B, and C. That's their shape. So you have to be in shape A to be able to actively train. But I was in level C,
Hmm.
and then so back and forth, different hospitals, and finally they told me that hey, we would have to move you to category E. We
Man,
can't move you to category.
what was your mindset like? Because I know, like, you talk about people, like, there's so many people in, like, just your everyday lives who are at the gym or they're doing their fitness journey. They get injured or they get really sick. And now they're really looking at a long term recovery just to get back to even 80%. So, like, what was your mindset like through this whole process?
Well, once again, it was mentally it was a little tough knowing that hey, you just have to wait around. Sometimes there would be a month or two where I would just be in my cabin. I just would be, getting out and then seeing my fellow batchmates are training
Mm-hmm.
actively, and I just have to wait. And mindset wise, I just wanted to be more included. I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
be the only one not included. So it was a little bit of a tough time, but my fellow batchmates were very supportive, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
supportive. They were with me, and I just wanted to get better as soon as possible. So even though my doctor said that, hey, you want to take it easy, I would still run.
So you still ran.
I would still run on my own. My time where whenever I would have to go to see the doctor, so it was a bit of a distance. I would just run the distance, but I'm running with like the full, army uniform, and I'm alone running because I just wanted to get better and
Mm-hmm.
start training again, and it was a big deal. Mm. But yeah, I got better overall in terms of my fitness level, but my spleen was still big, and that was one thing that was sticking point where I couldn't continue, or they wouldn't let me
Mm-hmm.
continue training. So I had to be medically offboarded.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty disappointing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was an officer's training, so if I was still there, I'd be a colonel by
Seriously,
now.
look at that. Shoot.
Anyway, but hey, you know what? You move on, right? You're young,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, listen, I'm young, and I still got my whole life ahead of me, and I'm gonna keep going. So I wanted to have a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go to a different country and start again, and just a fresh start,
Okay,
right?
perfect. Yeah.
So I came here, came to Canada as a student.
Mm.
I was an international student. I came here and I did business management,
Okay.
and from George Brown downtown. Stayed downtown, and after business management, while in school, I was working in the chef school. Just as a part-time job, just living here in Canada, earning enough
Yeah.
to pay my rent and everything. And by the time the school was finished, I got into sales jobs. So I was said, okay, I'll do call center training.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So
were you still doing fitness, and was your spleen got much better? Like, how was your body at that time? And what was
yeah, no, well, I mean, when I came to Canada, I got introduced to donuts for the first time.
Mm-mm.
I had no idea what donuts were. So I was like, man, this is like the best thing ever. The coffee time across from George Brown. I was like, man, donuts, that's great.
Yeah.
So still, I had no idea about nutrition, and I wasn't working out. Just getting up, going to school,
Mm-hmm.
going to my part-time job, in between having coffee and donuts, and then packing food from my part-time job because I was in a cafe and eating that junk. Right. So very soon, my body responded to that
Mm-hmm.
junk that I was putting in,
Yep.
and I started gaining weight. In 2 years' time, I went back to India, and my friends could recognize me. They were like, "Hey, man, you said you gained a little bit of weight, but it seems like a lot of weight."
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my introduction to donuts. And then I realized, man, this is it. So I got into after my call center experience and
Mm.
everything. I stumbled upon a job in fitness. So I was
Okay.
applying, right, and I got hired by Bally Total Fitness.
Now, were you working out at the time? Yeah.
I wasn't. I wasn't.
You're still not
I
working
wasn't.
out. So
Still not working out.
no
Still a big
nutrition. Oh
no
man, everything.
nutrition.
Okay. All right.
Still a big guy, right, and not fit. But then
Mm-hmm.
and then I started in sales in Bally's.
Yeah.
And one of the other things happened just before I came to Canada that kind of has relevance now was I was riding my motorcycle. That was a few months before I came here after the army.
Mm.
I was riding my motorcycle one night in India, and I was a little drunk, and I slept. I slept on my bike while I was driving it,
Oh man.
and when I woke up, I was being dragged along
Okay.
the bike, and luckily I didn't severely injured anything, or at that time I thought I didn't. But later on, I realized I started developing pain in my hip joints,
Jeez.
and it was incapacitating at times where the pain would be so severe that I would just have to sleep it off. and I wouldn't be able to walk properly. Or at that time, I used to take a bus. If I'm in pain one day, I would have to really walk like a disabled person. And one day, this guy had to kneel the bus for me
Jeez. What was the
just to get off.
recommendation? What was the recommendations from the doctors now, at least medically, from a pain management standpoint? You got the spleen, you just got off the spleen, and now we've got the hip from the motorcycle. What was happening on that front?
So the spleen was slowly going back, slowly
Mm-hmm.
going down,
Mm-hmm.
but not fast enough, right? So it was still there. But then the doctors said that we'll just monitor it. Even here, the doctors over here, I have a family doctor. They just say, okay, we'll just monitor it, and we'll see how it's progressing. So anyway, so my injury for the hip injury was something that made me not work out
Mm.
because I was in pain and I couldn't figure out why this pain was. And I then tried to connect it. Okay, well, I had a motorcycle accident and, I felt something in my hip and I think that's what it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
have this pain that fluctuates from one hip joint to the other. And one day, um, this is in Bally's. I'm a sales associate in Bally's. One of my friends took me to a yoga studio.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Bikram yoga class, and I was in pain that day.
Right.
And from the start of the class, I was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Half the class, I just sat on the yoga mat.
Oh, no.
But then one thing distinctly happened was by the end of the class, my pain was gone.
Wow.
So I had no pain. And I was like, that's amazing, man. So this class is miserable, but if I can get rid of my pain in this
Yeah.
one class,
Oh, for
right,
sure.
I'll do it. And that was 15 years ago. I've been in Canada for about 18, 19 years now.
Yeah.
So 15 years ago, after that day, I kept practicing, going back to the same class every day and practicing Bikram yoga every day. So spent a lot of time practicing, and slowly I saw my body transform, started losing weight. But more than losing weight, I started being more flexible. But more than even flexibility, hey man, my pain was gone.
So
So
tell the listeners a little bit more about yoga. What is yoga, and why do you suspect that the pain just went away from obviously the poses that they do in yoga kind of thing?
good point. Good point. So my journey started into discovery of just to find the reason, start with the reason why this happened, exactly a question. So I started learning more about yoga and
Mm-hmm.
studying more about yoga, and actually trying to find out how
Mm-hmm.
this yoga was actually helpful in my pain
Wow.
management. So, and then I was talking to instructors. So the information that I found that was out there um, is doing yoga. It's all about breathing. So you're doing a lot of breathing. Everything is nose breathing, right? So you're telling your parasympathetic nervous system everything is calm. Therefore, your body remains calm. But you're also doing poses where you're holding your body for a long period of time in a very uncomfortable pose,
Mm-hmm.
right? A position like a lotus pose, a lot of people sit and they have a lot of pain
Mm.
sitting, and they keep changing their position. They do this, they do this, they do this because they can't sit in that position. The
Right.
purpose of yoga was to kind of bend your body in so many different ways so that ultimately when you sit in a lotus pose, you can sit for a very long time
Mm-hmm.
and meditate, ultimately making your hip joints more flexible. So it really opened up my hip joints. And then the breathing aspect of it was increased oxygen in my body. So,
Okay.
oxygen heals cells.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to a hospital, a cancer patient, or any kind of patient, just for recovery, they give them oxygen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it allows for the cells to heal. And that increased oxygen, because of this yoga breathing, started to heal me internally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my muscles were not stiff anymore, right? I was able to have increased blood circulation in areas where before there was hardly any blood circulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm twisting and bending my spine, so there's a lot of spine twisting. There's a lot of spine movement, right? Because that
Mm-hmm.
is the connection. That is the really connection between the ultimate purpose of yoga was basically connecting to your awareness. So spine is really important in yoga. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of twisting, a lot of bending forward, trying to touch your toes, just increasing your range of motion. So I found that because I was more flexible,
Hmm.
not only did my pain was better because with increased flexibility, your muscles are a lot more tender and there's less inflammation,
Right.
right? So, and a lot of what my pain was simply inflamed joints, inflamed muscles around it. So
Hmm.
that inflammation was gone. My muscles were a lot more flexible, increased oxygen in my body, increased blood circulation,
Hmm.
and then ultimately the pain was gone.
So by holding these poses, and then obviously with good breathing techniques, you're saying that you can actually move the inflammation from one spot, at least spread it out somewhere.
Or just completely breathe it out. You know,
Really?
there's
Okay.
a popular breathing technique in yoga called pranayama breathing, kapalabhati, where you're simply breathing
Hmm.
forcefully out of your nose, sucking your belly in. I don't know if you've seen yogis do that,
Yeah.
but that's a good breathing that kind of releases a lot of toxins from your body.
Hmm.
But what I'll tell you distinctly about my experience is if
Hmm.
I was at that time, if I wouldn't practice yoga for 1 or 2 days,
Hmm.
my pain would come back.
Really?
So my pain would come back, and then that would be my signal to my body that okay, I cannot just stop this practice.
Hmm.
It's not like a one time, 1 month, and you're fine for the rest of your life. It's a practice because you have to keep on with it. You have to keep doing it, and then even though you're doing it for physical reasons,
Yeah.
ultimately you'll get more benefit than just physical reasons. So
Right.
anyway, I was doing it to just get rid of my pain, but then my pain would come back, and then I would simply roll my yoga mat wherever I am. Sometimes when I'm in my office,
Hmm.
sometimes at home, sometimes if I'm outside, I would carry a yoga mat in my car and just roll that yoga mat. I remember going to, a vacation, and I was in pain that day, and I said, okay, I'm just going to do some yoga.
Hmm.
And I didn't have a yoga mat, but on the grass, I'm doing that yoga practice. So the sequence that I learned from my practice, and then immediately at the end of my own practice, I would just feel better.
Right. Now I know there's different types of styles of yoga, and I mean I don't expect you to go through all of them, but which ones do you recommend, or is there a recommendation for different styles of yoga for different ailments or different injuries? Like, what would just give us a little bit of breakdown on what are some of the styles of yoga?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, there's the yoga itself is it's a bigger. There's a lot more different kinds of yoga. There's like karma yoga. We
Mhm.
talk about karma, but that's more spiritual aspect of it. But the
Mhm.
physical exercise aspect of it is hatha yoga,
Hatha.
right?
Okay.
Where hatha yoga, and that is the exercise aspect of it, where you are using your body. And ultimately, the purpose of the hatha yoga, of all those different poses, is for you to be able to finally sit in meditation
Okay.
for a long period of time without being in pain. Right?
Mm.
Because let's face it, if somebody is in pain and they're trying to meditate, what are they really thinking? They're like suffering, and they're like, okay, I'm having this pain in my hip, and I'm listening to
Right.
this guided meditation, but I can't really focus on what they're saying because I'm painful. So with the practice of hatha yoga, when you sit in meditation, there's no pain, so you can kind of actually not focus on your body, but actually focus on your thoughts. And
Right.
that's really the purpose of meditation, to just reach a state of more awareness, right?
Yes.
So that is the exercise aspect of it is hatha yoga. So when
Mhm.
I was doing it just for the exercise aspect of it. I
Mhm.
wasn't doing the meditation part of it.
Right.
I would just do my hatha yoga. At the very end, I would lie in shavasana, just absorbing all the benefits of the practice that we have done. So
Mhm.
that's a recommended pose because you've kind of done a good practice where you were in a very uncomfortable position,
Mhm.
right? So it's not like a sharp pain, but it's always like a deep pain because it's almost like you're doing your forward fold and you're feeling that stretch in your hamstring muscle,
Right.
right? But then a lot more deeper, a lot more visceral,
Mhm.
and then you're just holding it long enough to kind of, with your breathing technique, you're breathing into that pain
Yeah,
per
talk to me
se.
more about that holding part of, the holding of the technique. Why do they hold the technique for that long? What are some of the what does it do for you?
Absolutely. Well, one of the aspects of yoga postures is that there'll be times you'll be on your one leg,
Mhm.
right? and that is a balancing posture,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for balancing, being a fitness professional yourself, you need the smaller stabilizer muscles in your body, not just the bigger muscles, right?
Right.
So the purpose of holding postures is to activate your stabilizer muscles
Okay.
to simply allow you to balance
Mm-hmm.
for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we hold the poses longer. So it's preparation for your balancing postures, like a dancer's pose where you're standing on one leg, right, and your leg, the other leg is above you, right. Then there's the handstand practice where people do simply handstand, they're standing on their hand. That's a practice that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
But again, I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a practice, so it's a journey. There's a headstand where you're standing on your head for a long period of time, and you need to balance, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
need to have all those stabilizer muscles activated, including your core. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why yoga is a lot of sun salutation postures, are a lot of leg workout, but mostly smaller muscles, stabilizer muscles, and then a lot of core workout so you can hold your handstand and your headstand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the purpose of holding it longer.
That's interesting. And I know so many people are interested in not only yoga from a flexibility standpoint and just function, keeping the body functional, but the spiritual side. What is your, how would you recommend someone to get into the spiritual side? Which styles do they need to take? Do they need to learn? And do you have to be, does your body have to be ready to take on all these poses before you get into the spiritual side? Or can you kind of transition before the body's ready?
Well, I mean, a lot of people do a lot of meditation for
Hmm.
sure, and they actually use things like pillows to sit on, so
Hmm.
it's more comfortable to
Hmm.
be meditating. So I'm sure that has got many benefits.
Mm.
Uh, but the purpose of yoga really um, is to kind of sit in that lotus posture for long periods of time. I'm sure that even if you do a meditation with pillows, you'll still see benefits of it,
Hmm.
right? And even though you take yoga for the reasons for physical
Hmm.
benefits, but ultimately you'll see the benefits spill over into your meditation because you can now sit in a lotus posture. And usually the meditation aspect comes after you've done your workout when you've got your feel good chemicals inside you, the
Hmm.
dopamine, the oxytocin, all those, good happy hormones.
Hmm.
And then you kind of sit in meditation. The journey of meditation is not purpose or goal driven. So you
Hmm.
don't get into meditation because, hey, I'm going to get these benefits.
Mm.
And then what I found is if I'm doing meditation with an end in mind, I'm going to get frustrated because why am I not there yet, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And because there's good times and bad times in everyone's day, right?
Hmm.
So what I found the purpose of meditation was to just simply become aware of yourself, right? I mean, just to give you an example, right? If you close your eyes, you experience thoughts,
Hmm.
right? A thought is coming and a thought is leaving,
Right.
and a new thought is coming and a new thought is leaving,
Hmm.
right? Um, but who's looking at these thoughts,
Hmm.
right? Who's observing these thoughts that are coming and going? That's you. That's your awareness,
Hmm.
right? So that's one clue. The second clue is when you started to be a lot more conscious of yourself, you would close your eyes and you would become aware of who you are. That's your I, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You would know that, hey, um, it's you.
Hmm.
That awareness from 20 years ago till now is still the same.
Right.
You close your eyes and you feel that, okay, this is me. So
Hmm.
your body ages, but your awareness does not age,
Right.
right? To you, you're still the same awareness that you were when you were younger, right?
Hmm.
So that is another clue that, okay, this is what you need to focus on. So when you actually sit in meditation and you're not worried about any physical pain, regardless of how you do your meditation, this is how I do it,
Hmm.
right? There's so many different ways to do it, but this is my way. I don't know it's right or wrong, but um, this is me experimenting with my what sounds right to me, right?
Hmm.
So I get in meditation, and then that's what I become aware of, that all these thoughts coming and going are being observed by me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like that statement makes the thoughts a third party.
Mm-hmm.
And then that it's me that I was younger, it's me that it's 44 years old, but
Yeah.
my awareness, it has not changed. And
Yeah.
simply just being there with that awareness for as long as you can, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it starts with 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. It's not like the absence of thought. In fact, observing your thoughts, but then knowing that you are separate from your thoughts, and then eventually, you'll be more aware, and that's how you just get a little more deeper into your meditation. And
That's
then
right.
there's many benefits of it, but that's how I try and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it helps me be a lot more centered throughout the day. Um, if there's a situation, especially being in management, right,
Mm-hmm.
for in a gym industry for such a long time, you are called in to, put out fire. I remember you and I, when we were working together one day in a location, there was a guy who had punched another guy,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, I
then
remember that.
you remember
I
that?
remember that. Yeah, that was wild.
Anyway, so this guy that punched the other guy is a big dude, and he's
Yeah.
justifying himself. He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened. This guy came to me to ask for, I don't know,
Wants to
for
use the
some help
bench. He wants to use the
to
bench,
use the
and
bench."
he
This
punched
guy
him in,
turns around and punches
and he
him.
punches him in the
Right?
face. Yeah. So,
So,
all
yeah,
right. So you come from India, and you had the spleen injury, then you had the accident, and then you chose to go into, take advantage of yoga, and you found all these benefits with pain, pain release, and spiritual benefits. What was your next stage? What was the next step as far as getting even further into strength training to combine with what you're already practicing?
that's right. So the fitness journey started with my introduction to Bally Total Fitness, right? So
Mhm.
I joined the company, and then I used to do fitness back in the days with my friends. So I did
Mhm.
have that muscle memory. I was, I was a little bit bigger than what I was,
Yeah.
right? Um, 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So pretty big, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I got into fitness, and then I started working out. And I had a bad habit of smoking as well. And I used to smoke for some time, and I would find that fitness and smoking doesn't really go really well. And I was
Cigarettes,
in
right?
membership.
Just clear
Yeah,
for the cigarettes.
cigarettes, yeah, tobacco. So one day I was riding a bus back home, and embarrassing moment, but one of the passengers recognized me. Oh, you're the salesperson from Bally's. I said yes. I thought he was going to buy a membership for a friend, but he said, "Hey man, I saw you smoking in front of your club."
Oh man.
And then I thought to myself, who's going to buy a membership for him? And I couldn't believe this guy was telling it to me right there on my face. I'm like, yeah, man, you're right. Absolutely. Anyway,
Oh, that's
so
funny.
that did not make me quit.
Mm.
I still, I still didn't quit. I just
Oh,
went away from the front of the club, somewhere in the corner where nobody could see me, and I
oh
kept
man.
smoking. And then I would work out, smoke, lung capacity not there. But what happened is I found that I started having trouble sleeping.
That's what I want to ask you. Like, you're smoking, and just for people listening who don't smoke or might be thinking of it or anything like that, how did your body feel while you're regularly smoking and like applied to exercise and things like that?
Yeah, so my cardio definitely wasn't there. I
Hmm.
was still waking up, sleeping. I would still go to work and do my normal things. I could still, do a workout, but I don't have the better selves to compare it with yet,
Hmm.
right? So I thought that was the best I can be, right?
Oh, I
I'd
see.
go to the
Okay.
gym. I'd go to the gym. I would push some weights.
Hmm.
But then what started happening, the reason I, I quit smoking, and then the benefits came later, and then the comparison came later, that, oh my God, okay, the reason why I wasn't able to do that was because of my smoking, because I have a better self to compare it with. But my change, the transition from smoking every day, 4 or 5 cigarettes a day, maybe even a
Four or
pack,
five
to,
cigarettes a day?
yeah,
Man, that's a lot of smoking.
to no smoking at all, it
Hmm.
became a habit, right? Now, 4 or 5, I knew friends who were smoking packs a day, so 4 or 5 was still modest compared to my friends. Anyway, so I told you, I started having trouble sleeping. I'm still working out, smoking. I'm telling myself, hey man, I'm working at a gym, I'm working out. I'm not in best shape yet, but I'm getting there. I just don't like running,
Hmm.
so I don't go on the treadmill because I get tired soon. This is me when I was smoking. That's what I'm telling myself.
And you used to run in
My
India, and you ran in the army, and now you
Yeah,
can't run.
and I couldn't run. I could run, but I would just hate it. I would just get tired so soon. I would just go on a treadmill. I would just get tired.
Hmm.
Anyway, so my trouble sleeping, I would have to put like 2 or 3 pillows behind my back to be able to sleep,
Hmm.
and that was a wake up call for me. Right, that was a wake up call where I was like, okay, well, I can't do this. I used to be this guy who used to work out, then join the army, good endurance, and then over here the donuts, and
Oh,
then smoking, and I'm what 25 years old, and I
yeah.
can't sleep properly because I'm smoking. So that's it. That was one day, cold turkey.
Hmm.
Next day, that was about 15, 16 years ago. Just did not smoke after at all.
And what were you doing for endurance?
I wasn't. I was just lift pushing weights,
Just the weights? Okay.
just the weights and the yoga. So I didn't leave my yoga practice at all. So
Right.
I kept doing yoga practice, and I found that my yoga practice made my weightlifting better.
Right.
So my because of my flexibility, my squats would be just perfect. I would have proper technique. I would go deeper doing squats. I had better range of motion. I was able to do pull ups, no problem.
How did you transition into understanding you had to work the whole body? We didn't get to that part. Where did you get that knowledge? When did that come into play? Because you were saying in India, you were just working one muscle. When did that transition come?
Yeah, good point. Well, after joining Bally's,
Hmm.
I made some friends, right?
Hmm.
I was a sales associate. Some of my sales associates were actively working out,
Hmm.
and personal trainers. So we started chatting, right? And then we started talking about previous workout history. And I used to tell them, yeah, I used to just work out one muscle. And then they started educating me, and they said, yeah, we could still see your pectoralis major is still there,
Yeah.
right? But then they started telling me that if you work out your legs more, your upper body is going to grow faster. And that was a connection that I was like, how is that even possible? What are you talking about? I'm working my legs and my upper body is getting better. And then they just educated me a little bit more. And I found that even though I'm in sales, with that education, I could actually be better in sales.
Mm.
So not only did I take that education for myself, applied it in my own routine workouts, but went ahead and became a personal trainer, got
Okay.
certified as a personal trainer, and because I wanted to feel confident when I'm talking to my prospects and giving them some advice that it's backed by a certification and it's not just my experience.
So you had information given to you from, colleagues and stuff on how to do certain movements and stuff. When you went and got the formal education from whatever CanFit or whatever, what did you learn? What was the additional education you learned now that made you really feel confident supporting others in their journey?
Absolutely, and the honest answer is the certification was fairly easy, right? It gave me a book to read,
Hmm.
but a lot of my education was my own research,
Hmm.
and that was confirmed by the book.
Hmm.
That okay, well, what I've researched, that's what they're talking about in the book. So so it's a confirmation of what I already know.
Mm.
And then the education about fitness never ends. I mean, before people never talked about calisthenics, and people used to talk about that one workout a day and bigger muscle. And then now the kind of fitness we have is a lot of functional training, a lot of calisthenics. You
Hmm.
want to be a lot more functional, be more active than as big, right?
Hmm.
So that is all transition. So fitness is constantly changing. So my fitness knowledge journey just never ends. I keep
Right.
I keep learning. I keep educating myself. I became a yoga instructor because I just wanted to learn more.
Hmm.
And certification was just a certification that allowed me to now be able to insure myself and train people.
Hmm.
Um, and when I'm talking to people, I have some confidence, but the real confidence was my own research.
And what do you recommend for people who do practice yoga and do strength training? What's your programming like as far as, I guess, how you approach it on a weekly, or how would you kind of combine the two or recommend that?
Yeah, so both go hand in hand, and yoga would not only help you with strength training, but believe it or not, the actual breathing practice of pranayama breathing, yoga breathing makes you a better runner. So I run a lot.
Hmm.
I'm a part of a running group,
Hmm.
and we go for 10 kilometers once a week, 5 kilometers 3 times a week. Not as much during winter time and in lockdown, but when it's summertime, we're out trail running. But one of the things that I practice is a yogic breathing. So it's very different from a traditional running experience where people breathe from in the nose, out the mouth. This yogic breathing is running
Yeah.
and you're only breathing in and out of your nose. So parasympathetic breathing.
Hmm.
So not only did it get me better with my better range of motion,
Hmm.
but it also made me a better runner.
How?
So, well, because of my breathing, right?
Yeah.
My breathing technique. So I'm not breathing in from my nose and breathing out from my mouth because that's going to tire me faster,
Hmm.
right? Because that's the fight and flight running. So if you're running from a dog, this is how you're running. Maybe even yelling, saying "Mom," right? So your mouth's always open, so you're expending energy a lot more faster.
Hmm.
But when you're parasympathetic breathing, it's a different experience. Um, but you're actually preserving energy. The ultimate goal of running is to be as close as possible to that state for when you started, when you were not tired for the longest duration of your run, right?
Hmm.
So if you're doing a trail run during an uphill, you kind of really slow down because your heart rate's going to go really high.
Yeah.
But when you're going down, you just really try to relax and lower your heart rate because here's your chance to bring it down as low as possible because you know it's going to go high up again. So throughout the running practice, I found that this parasympathetic nose breathing only was really helpful. So my mouth shut, I'm running, and I am making good time. And it's only nose breathing. It took a lot of practice, but now I only nose breathe and run. So that was one benefit of yoga.
Hmm. Nose breathing is kind of difficult for me because sometimes you want to blow mucus out your nose and stuff when you only rely on. I mean, does that happen to people, or maybe it's
Yeah,
just
like
me?
they're trying to nose breathe and stuff comes out.
Yeah, yeah. It's like right. Usually you get in the like usually in I guess 15, 20 minutes into a high intensity program, mucus starts to form for whatever reason, especially by allergies
Hmm.
and things like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah.
it gets difficult. What other breathing styles are there in yoga?
Well, this is the main pranayama breathing. Inside this one breathing, there's other breathing where you are breathing deep, simply
Hmm.
just deep, long inhales and exhales. There's a belly breathing where instead of your lungs, you're just simply expanding your belly
Hmm.
and then contracting it. Then there's the Kapalbhati breathing where you're actually sucking your belly in and forcing the air out of your nose. That's
Hmm.
the most popular one. So Kapal means forehead, and Bhati means illumination.
Hmm.
So this is a breathing practice that kind of releases a lot of toxins from your body, and not only that, but gives you the control of your stomach muscles. Have you seen those yogis be able to suck their stomach
Yeah,
all the way in,
yeah. How do they
and
do
you
that?
and they think that, hey man, where did this guy's organs go?
Yeah.
Right? So I can do that,
Hmm.
and when I do that with my daughter, she's like, Dad, where's your organs? And by the way, my spleen is okay now,
Okay,
right?
so the spleen is okay now.
Yeah,
How was your
doing
hip?
that practice,
How did the weight
doing
training
that
help
practice.
with your hips additionally with the yoga?
So yoga equals better posture and weight training, deeper poses, deeper and more um, correct squat
Hmm.
in terms of position, and you want to make sure you're not making any mistakes.
Hmm.
So correct posture. So that's really good with yoga, and actually even doing bench press. So
Okay.
I know a lot of people who have shoulder injury, right? because they're trying to do a bench press with, bringing their elbows kind of, above their shoulders. So that
Yes.
leads to shoulder injury, right? They're trying to lift a lot of weight,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then arch their back.
Yeah.
But really, the best bench press is exactly opposite of that, right? You let your hand fall naturally. You actually focus on pressing your lower back onto the actual bench, and then that's when you really work your pectoralis muscle. But anyway, so a lot of flexibility, allow for better range of motion, more
Mm-hmm.
natural. I wasn't really a lifter. I wouldn't. My goal was never to just lift a lot more, but just to kind of maintain a decent weight where I can keep the right technique. I just have enough weight, right, where I'm not going to injure myself, but
Mm-hmm.
also just enough where it's not too easy. I wouldn't be competing for more weightlifting because my workouts is a combination of strength training,
Mm-hmm.
cardio, and flexibility, all three in that workout. So let's say if I am focusing on legs, I
Mm-hmm.
would do only legs one day. That's fine. But then after that, I would do some cardio or cardio before.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter when you do it. I think when I'm doing my leg day, I want to do cardio before,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because after your leg day, there's nothing much left in you to do cardio. That's how I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it, my yoga practice. So every workout of mine includes all three.
Now, you use this concept. Do you use that for your clients as well? What was your concept? I mean, every client's got their own goals and their own situation, of course. But was that concept more or less influenced to the clients?
Yeah. So everybody knows that when you start to work out, you're gonna do some stretching, maybe do a warm up, and then once your body is hot enough, you get into a workout. That's like everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
But the kind of stretches they are doing are very basic, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
The kind of warm up they're doing is also very basic. So the benefit of me and what I offer to my clients is, of course, my experience and my own journey of yoga and my own recovery and benefits from it.
Right.
Because that's when I'm talking from conviction, because I have seen it firsthand happen to me, but
Mm-hmm.
also showing them better ways to stretch,
Mm-hmm.
right? Better ways to stretch than just an ordinary forward fold, right? Than just to, hey, hold on to your head, your legs for a little bit, right? Those stretches are fine, but with yoga, I'm able to offer deeper, better, more options for stretching,
Mm-hmm.
and also longer stretching. I tell them that your actual yoga practice, if you're doing it every day after your workout, you want to at least do it for 15, 20, even 30 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even have a day of where you're not doing any weight training, where you're there for a 90-minute yoga workout.
Right.
Yeah, so you could just do one day of just yoga practice. I mean, I wear a band, one of the Apple Watch when I work out, and I can tell you that when I do my yoga practice for 90 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
I burn 600 calories.
Wow. Is this the
And then when
Bikram?
I'm,
Is this the Bikram
this
yoga
is
that you're losing 600 or any yoga?
no, just the regular yoga now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just my own practice, 600 calories in
Mm-hmm.
the 90-minute class, and then when I'm doing my weight training and my other workouts, it's between 5 to 600 calories in 1 hour. So yeah, I'm achieving it faster because weight training elevates your heart rate a lot higher, and then you're burning calories faster as
Mm-hmm.
well. But then you achieve the same heart rate and same calorie result doing yoga
Yeah.
as well.
So someone's sitting at home and they're like, man, I love what this guy's saying. I have bad hips. I've got lower back. I want you to speak to that person based on everything that you've pretty much gathered as far as information through your journey. What do you recommend step by step based on the way you see things for them? How should they recover and get back to normal?
Absolutely. First thing is the mindset, right? I can tell you from my own experience that when I was in pain, all I wanted to do was to not be in pain. All I wanted to do was just do normal thing like, hey, walk like this guy. If I'm, seeing a TV show and I see somebody walking on that TV, I'm thinking to myself, hey man, this person's walking without pain,
Right.
right? So for someone who's experiencing that pain, if I'm speaking to that person when they're in pain, all they're thinking about is just trying to be normal.
Mm-hmm.
And on their normal days, they're thinking, hey, I'm not in pain, so this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the answer is that you can actually get better and move your normal to a much more healthier normal,
Yes.
where your normal doesn't feel normal, and then your healthier normal is you're pushing your own boundaries and realizing that, hey man, just because I wasn't in pain, I thought I was okay, but I am better now,
Yes.
right? So, so the purpose of yoga and all these workouts that I recommend to somebody experiencing hip pain is that you don't have to just be normal and pray for better days when there's no pain. There's good days and bad days. You want to have more good days, less bad days, not rely on the temperature. Oh, damn, it's raining. I think I'm going to have a hip pain today or a knee pain today. But actually, hey, man, it's raining. Let's enjoy the rain a little bit and not have to worry about pain.
And a lot of people avoid movement because they anticipate pain. What do you say to these
Yeah.
people?
So yoga doesn't have to start from the intermediate or advanced level
Hmm.
of yoga. So you can just start with doing basic things, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm sitting right now and I got my feet together, soles of the feet together, and I'm sitting, I'm just pulling my heel as close as possible to my groin.
Hmm.
And that itself, and just sitting there for long postures, it's actually giving you some benefits of yoga, opening up your hip joints, lubricating your hip joints, and honestly, we carry a lot of tension. We
Hmm.
carry a lot of tightness, and a lot of people go to a massage therapist. Oh, my hips are really tight. My lower back is tight.
Hmm.
It's because we are not flexing or stretching and allow that openness to our hip joints as
Hmm.
much because we are sitting most of the day and perhaps even climbing, but mostly walking throughout the day, right? Walking or sitting, but rarely forward folding,
Hmm.
rarely doing a hip flexor stretch, unless, of course, if we are working out, right?
Hmm.
So if you're working out, then you want to have your hip flexor stretch, not just that, but your total body stretch, your workout, and your cardio endurance,
Hmm.
all three, right? So for somebody who uh, is doesn't think that they are advanced and that's why they're not going to try. No, it's not. It's your own personal practice. It starts with simply sitting like this.
Hmm.
And if you do this practice every day, maybe after a week, your body starts to reward you and say, hey, man,
What's the
your
name?
hips are a little open.
What's the name of the pose so listeners could kind of Google it? What's the name of the pose that you're doing?
There's a Sanskrit name for it, but I wouldn't bother users with Sanskrit name for it. They'd be like, Utkatasana? What does that mean? So the name of the pose is really bring the soles of your feet together
Yeah.
and then your heel as close as possible to you,
Hmm.
keeping your back straight, leaning forward, trying to get as close as possible to your toes. And ultimately, even allowing for your head to reach as close as possible to your toes. So really, that's how I explain it to my clients. If
Mm.
I go in and sometimes I'm like, okay, Utkatasana, they're like, what was that?
The
Right?
pose.
So the pose.
How do you so you talked about obviously the mindset and approaching an injury, approaching hips that are inflamed and it's really tough for individuals. And you talked about warming up and obviously flexibility. Take us through what someone with a hip injury who's recovering as far as the weight training, what you would recommend in your approach.
Well, someone with a hip injury, it's I
Or
wouldn't really.
let me rephrase it. They're now recovering and they're able to do some movements with resistance now. They're on the recovery road with
Yeah.
a hip
So the
injury.
kind of so the kind of workouts I would recommend is definitely stabilize your muscles. So start
Hmm.
working on your balance, right? And you have a hip injury, so your body is obviously compensating. So sometimes when you're standing, you're putting more pressure on the leg that's better, and
Hmm.
taking pressure off the other leg which is in pain. So your total posture is not neutral, right?
Hmm.
So what's experiencing is that your stability is getting affected because one side is getting stronger and the other one is not as strong. So start working on yoga poses because it's going to help you with your flexibility. But your body has got to be in alignment, right?
When you say
Um,
poses, the yoga poses, right?
yeah,
Yoga
the
pose.
yoga poses, absolutely. Yoga postures, whatever you can do, doesn't have to be advanced handstand, headstand. This is basic yoga, right?
Hmm.
Holding a warrior one posture,
Hmm.
right? In Sanskrit, it's Virabhadrasana, but the warrior one is more common.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Holding a warrior two,
Hmm.
warrior three. Simply just doing that is going to start to strengthen your muscles,
Hmm.
stabilize your muscles that will help you balance, which will compensate for what you're doing right now when you're in injury or recovering from injury,
Hmm.
right? So that's one way you're going to benefit from it. The other thing is you can just keep doing yoga till you feel better to progress to the next level. You don't want to do yoga and saying, okay, I just did my yoga today, so I just think I can do workout like squats today because I just worked on my hip joint right now. But keep doing yoga for maybe a month before you start to advance that. Okay, my hip joints are not only better, but I'm more stabilized. Let me try squats now, or maybe before I do squats, I want to just do some body weight squats. I want to just use a band instead,
Yeah.
right?
Should someone do yoga before they work out or after your workout, in your opinion?
Either. So not one is better than the other. You should do yoga regardless of when you can do, whatever your preference is. Some people want to stretch before. I want to jump straight into cardio. I want to then jump into weight training. And then I personally do it after. And the benefits that I see is, especially let's say you've done a quad workout today, you've done a lot of squats. So you know your hamstrings and your quads are like tight.
Hmm.
You're climbing down the stairs and you're feeling something. So if I do the workout after my yoga after, I personally see maximum benefits from it. Plus, it's
Hmm.
also a lower paced workout, so your heart rate comes down. Right? And again, you don't have to do a full hour because,
Hmm.
quite honestly, nobody has time to live in the gym. Most
Yeah.
people have 90 minutes at best or 1 hour to get their workouts done. Like my clients, the time is 1 hour, right? So you want to
Yeah.
pack everything in. So my yoga postures change with every workout. So today I'm going to focus a lot more on sun salutations, and we're just going to do that for 15 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then next day we're going to focus more on balancing postures, core workouts, all through yoga. And believe it or not, there's a lot of core workouts in yoga.
Hmm.
You don't even have to do crunches. There's a navasana posture. It's called the boat pose, where you're holding and you're making your core a lot more stronger because to be able to ultimately do advanced poses, you need your core. So a lot of core strengthening as well. So what I was trying to say is that you could do before or after. I personally
Yeah.
do it after yoga.
You like after. Okay. So you're teaching yoga right now, right?
I am,
Online.
yes.
If people want to, reach out to you or if they wanted to follow you, where can they reach you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on my Instagram, right? I have my Instagram, Kumar Alex 00, and you can follow me on that. I'm not much of a Facebook person, um, so that is what I have in terms of my Instagram accounts. You can just follow me
Yeah.
on that. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, listen, man. Thank you again for coming. I know all the iLive listeners. They learned a lot about yoga, recovering from hip, spleen injuries, and also just your whole mental outlook on this. So really appreciate your time, and we'd love to have you back if you wish, because this is. I mean, we need to cover more information on the spiritual aspect and just combining the two practices together so you have a full fitness journey. But this was awesome, and thank you again.
pleasure, man. Anytime. Take
All right.
care.
All right. You take care.
Bye.
Have a nice
Bye.
one.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.